Just one more regular season week before the best ball playoffs are here. And tonight, myself, Eric Beinfort, and Rob Coakley are going to walk you through our sweats, overall sweats, things we're excited for, things we're worried about, some of your sweats. What do you got going on? And your best ball teams, we're going to get through all of it, the things that look the best, the worst, and everything in between, heading in to the best ball playoffs here in week 14. We're almost here. Let's do it. All right, Rob, we did it. We made it to week 14. There are hilariously a few teams on bye, which we had none last week. So that makes this sweat a little bit more chaotic than usual. But it's almost here. I feel like most things are generally stabilized. But the week 14 sweat is pretty fun too. I'm really looking forward to 15, 16, 17. We'll get into our advance rates and teams and all that kind of stuff. But I'm pretty excited for these best ball playoffs. I think it's going to be total anarchy like the NFL is right now. Like, man, it's crazy everywhere, which is creating crazy fantasy results. But we do have one more week to get through. We can sneak some more teams through. We can lose some teams. I'm just excited. And this is my favorite time of the year. We got playoff best ball coming, but this is what we live for. This is what we spend all summer drafting for.
We spend all summer drafting for this. Then we overreact the first 3 weeks of the season. I think our friend John Daigle says it best how not only is best ball in quarters, right? Like there's 4 different parts of best ball, but an actual NFL season itself sort of runs through different quarters, like 4 different quarters in the regular season. And we really hyper fixate on that first quarter. We determine our league winners then, we determine everything then. And in best ball, we forget we're in the first quarter still, man. Like it's the first quarter. Everyone's they're adjusting strategies for next year based off of Jonathan Taylor. And I get that. I'm not saying there's no lessons to be learned for those situations, but the Colts seem like they're coming back to the median a little bit here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Your quarterback has a broken fibula. So it's tough. And you got Jonathan Taylor with a 50% advance rate. So it tells me, as much as I would have wanted to have Jonathan Taylor, and no one's saying that you wouldn't want that on your team, I'd be more excited for the teams you get through that don't have him. Right. And it shows you that there could be an advantage. And again, he could just steamroll us throughout the playoffs too.
Of course.
I mean, and I have Jonathan Taylor. You drafted Jonathan Taylor, but I'm talking about specifically for the teams that don't.
Yeah, I need Jonathan. This is not like this. Normally the people would be like, oh, these zero running back bros, these idiots, they're just mad about Jonathan Taylor like Saquon last year. Where I'm like, no, dude, I have a lot of advancing Jonathan. I'm well overweight Jonathan Taylor, like double the field. So it feels nice. I'll be honest with you. The early running back smash Gibbs. I have a bunch of Gibbs and a bunch of Jonathan Taylor, a little bit of Achane, right? A little bit of these back. I'm like rooting for those guys, but I'm also terrified, like you said, because they have 50% advance rates. And like, look, things can go awry. Jonathan Taylor has one particularly really bad matchup in the fantasy playoffs. We can get into some of that, maybe a little more next week, but like, what would you rather, right? Last year you got to this time and it was like, would you rather have 5% advance rate Jonathan Taylor or 50% advance rate Saquon Barkley? And the answer was, not only did you want that beforehand, but it worked out that you wanted Jonathan Taylor. I'm not saying Saquon Barkley is the answer to this question now, but like, right, you know, I have 5% Nico Collins, right? I'm just throwing something at the wall, right? Like, would you rather have that? Would you sneak an Amon-Ra team through and he comes back and the Lions go crazy trying to get into the play? Like, what's going to happen for the next 3 weeks, like you said, is the most important part of the season, the final 3 quarters. But we feel like everything's been decided in that first quarter because it's so long and it's such a big part of the season.
And it's a beautiful thing because no matter what happens, people will still gravitate towards that thought process next year. So your lesson through this, even if Jonathan Taylor's right, the other stuff that people are gravitating towards right now that ends up being wrong, you can fully exploit it in general in your drafts next year. And I was thinking about this today. Look at the running backs that the sort of the incumbent running backs that we've had for the past 5, 6, 7 years, we knew they were starting to fall off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems like even more so. And people are still going to be drafting some of these guys next year. And I understand why. Like CMC is going to get drafted next year. We see that like he's about to do something only him and 2 other people have done, and no one's ever done it twice, which is 1,000 yards for a running back. And he looks like shit. Like overall, he doesn't look good. So like people, this is
He's
our
a PPR scam. He's a PPR scam who just doesn't leave the field. He's fancy Najee Harris, dude. He's fancy Pittsburgh Steelers. And I know that sounds egregious. He is one of the worst from a rushing expectation. He's still a great receiver out of the back, like phenomenal. But from a like as a running back, he's one of the worst in the NFL from like any metric you want to. I'm not saying he's like actually the worst running back in the NFL. That's not true. But like from a metric standpoint, he's been really bad. Like really bad. So that, like you said, there's just all these little wrinkles where it's like we want it to be really straightforward and just be like, this is the best player in the football. This is the best player. This is the guy we should have drafted 101 in fantasy, right? Like all XYZ, right? George Pickens is awesome. I can't believe we let him go in the 5th round or whatever. Like it's supposed to be straightforward like that. And it's just like it doesn't work. It just doesn't work like that.
No, and people are going to go and see. I'm not saying CMC is going to be the 101, but he's going to hit this inflection point next year where he's at the end of the 1st round, beginning of the 2nd round, and you're going to have to choose between him and a guy that you're really uncomfortable with, whether it's because they're young, we don't know if they can do it again, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the safe click is going to feel like him maybe. And it's like, well, I watched him this year and I've never been scared of him this year watching him. Like whether it's through best ball, whether it's through DFS, and it might be insane to say because he catches 30 passes a game, and that's the only way that you're actually scared of him.
You're scared the like script goes awry, and then also you're scared of touchdowns, right? Which is like you can be scared of touchdowns for any running back. Like Quinshon Judkins can score 3 touchdowns in a game. Like shit happens, but you're just scared because he's on the field the whole time and he's a good receiver.
God, we wish Quinshon Judkins scored 3 touchdowns this last week, dude. I almost shipped everything this last week that I played. I was 8th, 12th, 7th. Like I was in the mix on every double spy that I played, and we almost got there, but that's neither here nor there.
I played Mason Tipton over Devon Vele. I stacked that game and played. And Vele goes for fucking 30 or whatever, which was fun for the best ball bags. I obviously wasn't drafting Mason Tipton, and I do have some Devon Vele, but goes to tell you about like that. That's another thing. I always think about that. It's a funny reminder. And for anybody that's watching this or listening to this tomorrow or whatever, you can tell how unscripted we are on this, that we're just whatever is coming to our minds. Even when the games come, right? So remember this next May, when like the schedule comes out and you're like, oh my God, I can't play, can't do the Jets game or whatever outdoors and right. Night. Can't do Jets Browns the year that it shipped absolutely everything. Shout out to Kareem. That was the year Kareem won. Every year we do this, like got to play. And now sometimes it is like true, right? We're not like always wrong, but the point is, even on a Sunday morning, 30 minutes before the game starts, we know who's playing. We know the fucking dew point at all of these games. We know, we know everything, right? We know offensive lines, defensive lines, who got traded, who didn't. And we can't predict who's going to score fantasy points then. But we're so confident, right? Like, can't do Jets Browns, got to do whatever. Cowboys Cardinals, we got to do that. And it's like, we're so bad at that I'm bad at it too. It's just always a stark reminder to just be like, just draft, man. It just really like heading into the season. Speaking of CMC, but the 49ers and the Bears last year both were. That was not a game you would have been. I mean, the 49ers offense is always fine, but you never would have been like, oh yeah, baby, 49ers Bears. Like actually, that would have been like a little more of a slugfest-ish type game with the Niners defense, and the Bears defense has actually been good. Now both defenses suck. Both offenses are good. Like that game's like one of the most appealing ones to have, which is scary if you don't have Christian McCaffrey. But like, there's all these things that we stumble across, like you said, that we can take lessons from. And I'm always trying to like, I got a long note in the old phone of like all these, just when you think about them, like just jot this thing down, because like remember that for next year, because you're gonna forget it and you're gonna make the same mistake over and over and over.
Yeah, and you're gonna make mistakes, right? Like we talk about this all the time. Like your job is to learn some stuff, not lose the knowledge you already have, fit it together, and understand that you can't cover every base. So that's what we try to do. I mean, like last year, my focus was getting better on cumulative scoring stuff, and I feel like I did that. I feel like I read the room right this year for the most part. My teams don't really reflect that as much as I would like them to. Obviously, got some stuff wrong. I mean, we all do. But next year, I feel like next year, where I was going with this is, and it's going to be shocking coming on a Spike Week show, but next year, zero RB feels primed. And I felt like that this year, going into next year. You have your Kamaras, your Mixons. These guys are done. Whatever you want to think about CMC, whether he's done or not. But a lot of these running backs are just done. And the new crops coming in, and you're going to be looking around and trying to find more Rico Dowdles next year than you are Saquon Barkley's from this year. Right. So, like, and I think that is 100% going to be the case. I mean, the sustainability of what the running back position has done the last 2 years has been pretty crazy.
Insane.
That we haven't had the injuries that we normally have at that position. And I think it's going to come to a head next year when you mix in the age of a lot of these guys, plus just the absolute natural progression of, like, everything has to snap back into place. Like, you can go outside the line for a year or two, but that injury bug is going to come back next year probably. And we want to be on top of that. So I think zero RB next year is just one thing I was thinking about, because it really hit on the Mixon Kamara thing from this year, right? Like, because those names really are part of that running back group that we've talked about that have been holding on, that it's just kind of time to move past those guys.
And then you always get and now it's funny. This is something that's also interesting. You get the Chubas and the Ken Walkers and the such that are just overpriced backs, and have another guy like DeAndre Swift hasn't quite been this, but he really got, particularly on DraftKings, by the end of the summer, DeAndre Swift got really expensive, right? Because he's the star. Who else is going to get carries? And it's like, well, and ended up being this 7th round rookie, right? That continued to get more positive coach speak. Of course, I'm talking about Kyle Monangai. It's not that those guys like were bad picks, but then you end up getting good zero running back, right? If you drafted Sharbs, if you drafted Kyle Monangai, if you drafted Rico Dowdle, like, shit, dude, if you just started a running back room with those 3 guys from a zero RB perspective, like add in Javonte Williams and, like, cool, dude, like, you just crushed it with your running back room. And yet the chaos of this game that's so funny is that, like, you still want Monangai, you still want Sharbs, you still want Dowdle, of course. But, like, there's almost this, like, weird flippening happening as not with Swift and Monangai, but, like, you're fine having DeAndre Swift on your teams. He had 100 yards this week too, right? Yeah. Not just Monangai, but it's like, oh, look, Chuba just stole back some of the backfield, right? Like, oh, look, Ken Walker's stealing back more of the backfield from Charbonnet as he starts to play better. The weirdness of, and again, over the course of, like you said, just the 14 weeks feels like a lot, but it's just the first quarter of the whole little race that we're running here. That, like, so much anarchy can kind of play itself out to where zero running back can, like, it's a pendulum swing. And then, like you said, all it's going to take is 1 or 2 injuries happen. And I'm not predicting them. No one should predict them. And I'm not rooting for them because I have a lot of advancing teams with the early running backs, right? But, like, Gibbs goes down, Bijan goes down, CMC goes down, something right? Etienne goes down, whatever. Somebody goes down. And, like, the crazy thing about it is it only has to be for 1 game too. Right. In the fantasy playoffs. That's the big thing. Like, Amari Cooper went from won everyone at, like, their semifinal matchups a couple of years ago to sitting out in week 17. And you were like, did you get through without Amari? Because now you have a huge edge, right? It's like, did you get through without whatever? Achane, just use that as an example. Like, Achane play 16 games, then you get to week 17. You're like, oh, sorry, buddy. Like, he got a concussion, right? Or he sprained his ankle. It's like, that shit can happen. How many guys got hurt last night and just right? Gunnar Olszewski goes down. Tyrone Tracy goes down. Like, it just happens in football games. So it doesn't have to be, we always think about it like, if Saquon goes down, my Will Shipley bags are going to crush for the whole season. It's like, but what if it just happens for 1 game? In the playoffs, that's often what ends up happening. A couple of years ago, Etienne was awesome, right? His rookie year, all year. But actually, right, Mostert scored 20 touchdowns in that season. Achane missed a lot he missed like 6 or 7 weeks or something like that during the middle part of the season. And then he came back and Mostert went out. And it was like, now you got Achane workhorse and he scored like 25 in the it was like you really wanted Achane in the finals, and he really didn't do that much for a while. So that's the fun of this part of the year, but also the chaos of this part of the year. And it's important to, like you said, don't over index on the first 14 weeks, but then also don't over index right now and be like, oh, look, this thing happened. Got to do hero running back next year. Got to do zero running back next year. Got to draft this guy, right? Got to draft this guy because he came on strong, right? Down the stretch. It's like,
Chase Brown.
I don't know, man. I watched Chase Brown. I don't know, man. I watched Gabe Davis catch 4 touchdowns in a playoff game, and then my stupid ass drafted him in the 4th round the next year, and he's been on like 6 teams since then. You know what I mean? Like
he's live again.
He's back. He's back in our lives. The Buffalo Bills are going to win the Super Bowl with Gabe Davis and Brandon Cooks at fucking wide receiver. But you know what I mean? Like, there's so much. Like, we could go for hours about like how chaotic all this stuff is. And to your point, remember, like, soak it all in, enjoy it, all that. But like, don't let any of it like sway when we get to next May or next February or whatever, when we start the big board.
Yeah, and I think this is an important thing to go over too. The Light of Truth said in the chat, there really wasn't too many late round huge winners this year, at least in the regular season. Dowdle probably the best based on his ADP. I think
none.
But I also think that shows how spoiled we've been with that over the last couple of years. Like it's an expectation when it actually is more of an exception.
Who is this year's Kyron? Who is this year's Luka? Like fucking no one ever. Again,
we're drafting for that. Right, like, because that's like how you should be drafting. You should be drafting for the guys that can emerge rather than the guys that are going to get shadow realm by the end of the year. Like we made the joke about Adam Thielen, but like it was a year or two late. But you don't want the round 17 Adam Thielen this year. You want the round 17
Jalen Coker,
or whoever isn't even hitting but still has a chance to hit the field. Right. You know what I mean? Like that's still what you're looking for rather than
like Vele. I mentioned Vele before. It was like, if you took Vele in the last round, it was awful for the whole season. You were like, this is terrible. And now you're like, oh, if I got him instead of, like, I have a bunch of Jalen Royals teams, right? If I could replace Jalen Royals with Devon Vele, I would be looking at these teams through a wildly different lens. Darius Slayton, that's the name I used yesterday, right? Because he scored a touchdown. But it's like, Darius Slayton is never going to win you one of these best ball tournaments, right? He's not going to go for 30 or something like that.
Yeah.
But like Darius Slayton being out there running routes, physically being able to score fantasy points is like so valuable. Like you said, that just like having that at the end of your roster can be good. Now, like you said, I still want to target the break. Like I don't regret a Torrey Horton share. Like every single Torrey Horton team, I'm happy with that. Right. It did a good job. Yeah. Right. Like, and then of course you have Monungai and Harold Fan. Somebody mentioned Harold Fan in the chat. Like Stone Cold Smashes would do those all again. But there's also this, like you said, the guys who are going to present themselves now, the Amon-Ra St. Browns from years ago, right? Where it was like, did you give a fuck about having Amon-Ra on your team in his rookie season for like ever? And then all of a sudden it was like, what the hell? Amon-Ra just went crazy, right? And that's not Darius Slayton. Am I expecting it to be Devon Vele? Of course not. But like, who knows, man? Just like having the live bodies at the end of the roster is nice.
Yeah. Is there anything else you've been thinking about this year that you want to sort of either flip your brain on next year or just be cognizant of, or at least sit down and have a thought process as you go through?
It stems from that. And it is, we're so, how should I say this? We've gotten so much better. We, like us in our little bubble, right? Of the like diversify, right? Like I use the Draft Hacker religiously. So I'm very good at diversifying around my quarterback stacks, my first 3 round picks, you know, my, like the core part of your, like, call it your top 10 rounds of your team. Like I'm very good at diversifying around those and getting the combinations that I want. Not only the combinations that I want, the combinations that I think the field's not getting to enough, right? But as I scroll through advancing teams or teams that have or call it within 50 points, whatever marker you want to put, which of course you can do in draft. That's what I do. I just scroll through teams that are advancing, or I put it down to 50 for this week in terms you can put in Draft IQ number of points to like sweat that team, and then filter by just the teams you want to sweat. And there's just like so much, like Jalen Royals or some stuff like that, where it was like, I think he was a good pick. I still think he was a good pick, but I don't think I did a good enough job of like diversifying. Like, okay, you got your Royals bags in here. When does this need to be Vele, right? Because you got 5% Vele, you got 25% Royals. At what point? Because I want to have a bag of Royals, but at what point do I need to start making sure that those teams have Vele, and then the next time they have Slayton, and then the next time they have whatever, right? Like a lot of the times I do take running backs back there, so maybe that was part of my flaw as well. But like diversifying the cheaper picks, because it's a hard balance of, I want to be overweight when that Jalen Royals hits. That's such a big win that you want to have bags and you want to have different combinations of him, but you also shouldn't be overconfident in that 17th or 18th rounder, because it's just not likely to hit. So I struggle with the, like, I want to put my, we talk about putting our nuts on the table all summer. I want to do that when I believe in something, but I also want to be, what's the word? I don't want to be so arrogant as to say, I'm just going to put my cojones on the table for all these different things, including the stuff that's really just a lottery ticket. And so like balancing that is something I really want to work on, because it, like, figuring out when it's like a pure conviction, like the Kyron Puka season, we did that. We were like, guys, shove all in, like literally shove all the chips in. Yeah. The Rams have told us. Whereas Jalen Royals wasn't that. Jalen Royals was like a calculated bet that made sense, but it wasn't like the Chiefs were like, this guy's the next fucking Tyreek Hill or whatever. Like, it's not like they told us that. We were just making a bet. How do I balance the, like, when is this a pure put your cojones on the table versus I like this, right? I like this thing, but I don't want my whole season to ride on this. And my whole season isn't riding on Jalen Royals, but you get the point. Like, figuring that out has been a tricky exercise for me.
Yeah, and I think, like, when I think of that particular situation, two things come to mind. The first being, like, if you have 25% Royals, it's almost like you have like 55% Royals, just based on like how much he's actually gotten drafted and how many drafts he wasn't at all.
And that's the hard part, because that is 100% true. But also, if I believe in that pick, I want to have him with, right. It's like, yeah. Okay, I can say, like, you really only need like 10% to be like way overweight on this guy, but 10% is 15 teams. Are you going to get him right in like best ball mania? You have him on 15 teams. Like, you're not going to have him with a lot of individual guys. So it's like that balance of, I want to have him with a bunch of different combinations versus you're already well overweight this guy, right? It's like that's a hard balancing. That's a very hard balancing act with late round picks.
Now, do you think, because the other thing I've thought of with this is when we're trying to attribute that number, and this, you'd have to do this on a case by case basis, which is almost impossible to do, but it's more so for the guys that you are actually drafting at that high clip. Are you going to take a step back because this is something I want to do in the future? Because I liked Royals as well, right? Like, and you could even stay on the same team and say Brashard Smith, and just like take a little bit of a step back and be like, what's the actual pathway for this guy, right? And like Royals, I liked him. I would have, if I went back with the knowledge I have now, obviously you don't draft them, but like if I could go back and not say what happened, but like sort of give some context as to what I'm
you're in Back
at.
to the Future. You can't, you're in the house with the future version of yourself, but you can't, like, give away the Gray Sports Almanac, but you can like shove them in the right direction.
Right. I'd be like, look at the roster. What is their pathway to success? How many variables is it for him to become that number one? Or that's like, not even number one, but the number
There's
two.
A path, right? And there's a difference between a path and like, okay, let's write this parlay out. Right. And I think the problem with Royals specifically, but this happens for a lot of guys, is there was multiple different things that could have happened. Right. We had the Rashid, right. At a certain point, we had the, like, what is going on with Rashid exactly? Right. Like, how much is he going to play this year? Then you have, frankly, Worthy sucks. And I feel pretty vindicated about that. Xavier Worthy's not very good. Hollywood is pretty much cooked. Right. Travis Kelce is not as good as he once was, and it was like they could use this guy. Then you have his prospect profile, right? Blah 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 blah. So, but that's like it's like, okay, if this guy's cooked and Rashid doesn't play, you had to like have a weird outcome where it was over the summer. You're just like, I just need one of these like 5 things to happen, and it's like that wasn't true, really. You know what I mean? I think we oversimplified the path for some of these guys. Sometimes we, meaning me, I do it. I oversimplify the path for some of those late round guys. Same thing with Burchard, like you said. It was like, well, Pacheco sucks. It's like, sure, but like there's more to it than just Pacheco being bad for Burchard Smith to be good.
Yeah, and there's Kareem Hunt there. And then like with the receivers that you brought up, there's Hollywood, there's Juju Smith-Schuster, and it doesn't matter what we think about those players.
Right, Tyquan it kept him off the field.
Tyquan kept him off the field. It doesn't matter what we think. It matters what the coaching staff thinks. And if you see that Hollywood and Juju both make the team or are projected to make the team, that should give you more pause. I'm not saying that doesn't mean he's a 0. Like Royal shouldn't be a 0, but they're telling you that they still think that these players in particular are good enough to play the position the way they want their teammates to play the position. Mahomes is comfortable with them. Reed's comfortable with them. Yeah. This isn't just a Chiefs thing. This is like a across the board. We project some players into positions because we think they're better than other players, and maybe they are, maybe they're not. But at the end of the day, it matters what Andy Reid thinks. It matters what Harbaugh thinks. It matters what Mike Tomlin thinks, which who knows what he thinks,
and what Mahomes thinks, and what Aaron Rodgers thinks, and what, right? Remember, like we tried to do the Ronald Jones thing over and over and over, and it was like, and back then we weren't drafting these guys, but like, remember there was like Tyler Johnson and like some of these rookie wide receivers and stuff that they had, and it was like, maybe Tyler Johnson is better than Scotty Miller. Maybe he is. Maybe Rojo is better than Leonard Fournette. But guess what? Tom Brady doesn't trust him. So it truly doesn't matter, right? Every time I always loved this, like, this is such a niche story, but Tyler Johnson would get out there for like 5 plays a game or something with Brady. This is like the Super Bowl Bucks Brady team or whatever. And he would fuck up a route or a read, not necessarily a route, right? There's a lot of option routes and stuff, like, you know, very oversimplifying, but you know, when you're like a receiver, you get zone defense, you sit down, right? You sit down in the zone, you get man, you keep going because you want to run away from the guy that's covering you. And Tyler Johnson would fuck that up like every time. And Brady would just lose his mind. And it was like, all right, we're not going to see Tyler Johnson for a month. You know, it's like, and that's a oversimplification again, but like that stuff mattered. That's it. It's like, did Mahomes, and I'm not saying that was the case with Royals or Burchard or anything like that, but there's just like so many factors that sometimes, again, we oversimplify the path. We oversimplify how easy it is for these guys to get out there, even if they are good. And I think Jalen Royals might end up still being good for all that we know. Burchard Smith might still be good for all that we know. Like Jaden Blue could still be good, but the path is always more difficult than we make it seem. We always just say, well, the guy in front of us is not very good, right? And we might be right about that, but it's so much more complex than that. Like every time,
especially for contenders too. Like that's the other thing that we don't factor in. Is like contenders don't have time to audition at the end of the season. Like, I mean, they're playing for playoff spots and all that other shit. You know, if it's, I don't know, who's terrible this year?
The Browns, the Jets.
Yeah.
The Jets are auditioning AD Mitchell and John Mechie.
Right. But that's a great point. Like, that's the perfect team because it's like they are in audition mode, right? Like, who can we put some players around these guys? Can they play for us next year? The Chiefs aren't going to be like, oh, you know what? We're fighting for a playoff spot. You know, it's a good thing to do this week. Let's audition Jalen Royals and see if he can do it next week.
Right. Rashid, you play about 60% of the snaps. We really need to see what we got in this Royals guy. We're about to miss the playoffs for the first time fucking ever. But yeah, let's figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, like, and if they're out of it, then yeah, sure, you might see them. But like at this point in time, you're not going to. So
it's going to be a great run out when we do get the weeks, because the Chiefs are out of the playoffs by week 17, and then we get Royals and Burchard. I do want to hit. There's a lot of like awesome comments and questions I want to hit. Some of that. This is kind of funny. A Deep Threat says that there's in some multiverse, he's the CEO of DraftKings, and he'd make a slappy best ball product that gives points per snap for rookies, but only for rookies. I would like that. Rabona is ready for the week to fly by. I'll say I'm ready for the next 2 nights to fly by, but Thursday is going to rock. It's Cowboys, Lions. That is a huge game for, of course, our purposes, best ball purposes. Like if you got Dak, CD, Pickens, Ferg, I assume Amon-Ra's not going to play. So Gibbs, JMO, and there's obviously no Laporta. It's huge game for our purposes, but also like, again, I know this isn't a playoff best ball thing, but like if the Lions lose, like the Lions and the Chiefs might both miss the playoffs. Like if the Lions play the Cowboys on Thursday, the Chiefs play the Texans on Sunday. It's either Sunday or Monday. I think Sunday.
Sunday night.
If they both lose, they're like big. They're already kind of dogs to make the playoffs. They're like buried basically to make the playoffs. And can you imagine if that, in July, us being like, yeah, I'll bet the Lions and the Chiefs both miss the playoffs. Like they won like 28 games combined last year. Just absolutely crazy.
We all remember how that game ruined our lives 2 years ago, or helped your life 2 years
ago. Yeah, true. Jonathan Taylor and Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams, a good, an awesome guy to have. He's an interesting one to think about, where we've been the royal we, not you and I, not a lot of people here. I'm overweight. Devontae Adams we've been trying to bury Devontae Adams for years.
I have been.
Yeah, and it's understandable. I think this year was the first year where I thought he was like a really good pick. The other years I was like a little bit more on we're paying a lot for, and he was in sketchy situations, right? Raiders and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This year was like, okay, we've really buried him. There was times he was going in the 4th round after the Stafford stuff was happening, particularly on DraftKings. And it's like, this dude's still been good. And now it's McVay with Stafford, Puka drawing coverage on the other side. And we're seeing like, if he can still play, what we're getting from a Devontae Adams. And that was one that I feel decent about, not perfect, but decent about, like seeing the risk, the very, very clear risk, but also seeing like, I think we're getting a nice discount on what could be here. And it had a lot to do with the Rams, right? Like, cause we could bring up Tyreek Hill and say, well, Tyreek Hill's the inverse of this, where it's like, you just keep buying the guy who's fading. But I think they're a little bit different, and yet the market treated them the same. And I don't think that Tyreek versus Devontae should have been treated the same.
Different skill sets, right? Like,
yeah,
like this is something I've brought up a few times, but with Tyreek in particular, and again, he had a fire going on around him. He probably lit the match for that fire.
Yeah,
but
he was Eminem with the gasoline tank standing around the house.
Yeah, but the problem is like I don't want to say he's a one trick pony, but his one trick that he does well, once that hampers a little bit, he just becomes a kick returner essentially. Whereas like Devontae Adams is Jerry Rice, like in the terms of like, he has a skill set that can lead to an extended career. Larry Fitzgerald, like just a dude that can do everything. And the one thing I didn't factor in with Devontae Adams that I should have, he went to one of the top offensive minds in football that just knows how to utilize his players and just absolutely feed them. So that was on me for not drafting more Devontae Adams, knowing that like if anyone was going to do something with him, it would be Sean McVay. So, I mean, it's also funny how Stafford went from, is he ever going to walk again, to the MVP candidate for the year.
he threw two picks this week, and he's up to a whopping 4 on the season. There's nothing. We would love to have a rule where it's like, right, like if you're a speedster, and people love this, if you're a speedster like Tyreek Hill, you're not gonna age well, so fade that guy versus Devontae. But like you can also run into like DeAndre Hopkins is a very Devontae-ish archetype player, and he's not exactly aging very gracefully either, right? So there's a lot of push-pull on all that, and every situation is a little bit different. But what I would say about Devontae is really piggybacking on what you said, but his is more of like the technical details of playing wide receiver versus like being an athlete and like running fast or whatever. It's like he is, if you listen to the wide receiver, did you watch the show Receiver on Netflix.
No, I'm lucky if I watch anything that
I
isn't for work. Really,
I highly recommend it. Justin Jefferson is hilarious, but you may not love Amon-Ra as much. That family is fucking weird. They have a weird ass family, the St. Browns. Holy shit.
I know about the father, so I imagine the whole family is a bit weird.
But Devontae is on there. And I admit Devontae, I liked Devontae a little bit more because you could tell this is when he was on the Raiders with Jimmy G, and you could tell he just wanted to fucking throw Jimmy G under the bus, and he never did. But anyway, every other receiver, when they're asked about build the perfect receiver, or who do you study to try to get better, the first guy they all say, every one of them, Davante Adams, because his release, and it's not because he's not Calvin Johnson, he's not Tyreek Hill, he's not whatever. From a technical perspective, you can't jam him at the line. He's going to get open the line, right? Why does he score a goal line fade touchdown every week? Because you can't do anything with this dude. He's the single greatest receiver in terms of getting off the line of scrimmage and releases that we've ever seen. And that can age gracefully. Now, he may not be catching 20-yard in breakers next year or something like that. That might go. But the stuff that he's really good at, this is really hand in the dirt level take, but compare that to Tyreek Hill, right? Where it's run fast down the field, right? Or get the ball in your hands and then run fast. It's defenses can take that away, and also that can just go and you're cooked. So I think it's a good example of just making sure we're analyzing the nuance and the really specific textures about each player, and not making rules on, well, he's 33 or whatever, we can't draft him anymore. I'm guilty of that too, but he's a good lesson in treating potential outliers differently, right? Instead of putting guys in a spreadsheet and saying, well, he's 33 and his yards per route run went down by 0.2 last year or whatever. And it's you just can't do that because they're all different.
That team next year, because if they run deep or win the Super Bowl, Stafford walks, right? I just have a feeling
McVay might walk.
They might both go.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then we're going to be drafting Puka in the first round. He might slide because
Stetson Bennett at quarterback. Although, did you know they have the Falcons first round draft pick?
Yeah.
The Rams.
Yeah.
The Falcons traded their first round draft pick to the fucking Rams. The Rams might win the Super Bowl, and the Falcons are going to win 4 games.
But McVay might stay. That's the other variable. Let's say McVay does stay, and then you lose Stafford. We're going to be excited about whoever's playing quarterback. It's just that team is going to be a major factor in the offseason for the way things could break, or they might not be. They might just be status quo. But I have a feeling that it might be Stafford's last year. I mean, why does he need to do this after go out on a high note, no matter what happens?
Winning MVP. I mean, they're obviously going to make the playoffs. They'll probably make some form of run. What does that mean? I don't know. But go out on it. And maybe he wants to win one. I don't know. Who knows? We'll see how the play. We're 2 months away from figuring out what the end of the Rams season is, but it's going to be a huge fucking fact. Because McVay is a wizard, and McVay, I think, is the ultimate driving force here. But Stafford has been unreal. That's why he's one of the favorites to win MVP. He's just, it's perfect. The McVay, Stafford, Puka, Devontae, mind meld, and the way they all fit together schematically, and then mixing in a solid run game with Kyren and Corum, playing a lot more 12 personnel this year, as opposed to forcing Jordan Whittington and Tutu and Xavier Smith on the field or whatever. Kanata Mumfield, right? Instead of forcing, that's what he's done historically, right? There was Demarcus Robinson and Van Jefferson, and all those guys got forced onto the field. He's shifted a little bit. That's why we joke, which fucking Rams tight end caught a touchdown? Davis Allen or Tyler Higbee or Terrence Ferguson or Colby Parkinson? Because he's figured that out, that I got these 2 stud wide receivers. I don't got to force Tutu onto the field. I know Tutu's hurt right now, but that's what, it's just such a perfect marriage. The 4 of those guys are such a perfect marriage. And then they draft well, they develop well. It's crazy. They haven't had picks for such a fucking long time, and they keep finding these
they better trade them away so they can stay good.
Yeah, seriously. It's crazy, man. You just, here's Jared Verse and Byron Young, and what the fuck? How do these guys keep finding these superstars? They built up the offensive line. It's crazy.
Versus so good. We're saying this after this Carolina game, but
yeah, they
but West
lost to
Coast team
Carolina,
traveling
but
east, like we see the shit every year. Like
that was also the fluke. They straight up dominated that game. It was just turnovers and weird little fluky, pick six, right? The Panthers got up early, pick six.
yeah.
It was just like,
those of us that played the Panthers defense were happy about that.
they got everything that could go wrong in the worst times. They were like like win probability stuff. If you go back and look, they win that game like 90 times out of 100. The Rams do, and they lost. It was just a weird. Just that's how it goes, right? That's how it goes sometimes. Let's see. All right. Rabona, I have been we've reached the point where I do start to be like, can I find some teams I'm excited about? Because I want to have something to root for. Do you do that too? Do you look through teams and try to find some ones that's like, I want to root for this thing this week in week 14? Of course, like if some higher stakes stuff or whatever we can talk about. You and I and Bernie's team doesn't really have anything to root for. We're in the playoffs. We're sweating week 15 at this point.
We should show it later.
Yeah, we can pull it up in a minute. But I have been looking through like even like non-high stakes teams just to find some stuff that's like, what do I need this? What do I need this week to, like, I don't know, get an extra 3 or 4 teams through? Like that could be the difference. It's a big week.
Yeah, well, because let's talk about emotions. Week 14, like emotionally, I don't think it's because you kind of already know what you're going to have going in. There's a couple teams that might squeak in or might fall off, but like you kind of know what's going into your playoff run. So like your emotional investment isn't overly high, or at least I don't think it should be that high right now. But it's funny because you go to, I think, the most emotionally taxing week, which is 15, because week
Easily.
15, it hurts every year because you have your most shots on goal that are in the playoffs. And you just watch these teams just get like wasted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so last year I had a huge advance rate, right? Like compared to the field. And I just watched those teams just all nosedive, like for the most part. And you just get a few through and it ends up being like that advance rate didn't mean shit because I advanced 2 teams and the guy that had 7% advance rate advanced 2 teams somehow too. So like it doesn't matter anymore. Or you only have 2 teams going through and it hurts quite a bit. It's a tough game, man.
Even if you have a good week 15, it hurts. Even if that's how I would put it, is like, even if your week 15 is good, above expectation, it still hurts because the broad number of teams that die on the vine, a lot of them being some of your teams that we're talking about right now, like, oh, what's a team you might like be interested in sweating? Like, see ya, done in week 15. Because it's just like, it comes down to like, did you have a couple of different guys, and then you got to do it again, and then you got to do it again. But so we just got through this past weekend was the final for college football best ball on Underdog. I know not everybody plays that, and I'm not trying to make it about that, but I had an awesome year in college football best ball. I advanced like almost 40% of my teams in the regular season. I drafted literally like 75% of Ole Miss's running back, Kewan Lacey, and he was like if you thought Kyron was a smash the year that Kyron was a smash for the Rams, this dude scored he was like, might win running, whatever. Him and Jeremiah Love are like competing for whatever the running back of the year award is in college football. And he was like, for most of the summer, he was like a 15th round pick. So it was like, and I just drafted him in every draft. So like I had a lot of other mistakes for sure, but like just a handful of things went really right. And I just advanced a million teams. And then I advanced a million teams. I advanced like 40% of those teams to the semifinals. So I had to have like one of the highest expectations among any drafter in the semifinals. Goosed in the semifinals. 0 for 17 or whatever it was. Like just completely wiped off the map in the semifinals because it was just like college football's weird. He plays for Ole Miss. They had a bye in the semifinals, which is a weird little wrinkle. But it was just like, shit happens. Like sometimes you just get completely wiped out. You had good teams, you had a good year, but this happens every year, right? Like you draft, going back to our JT thing, like wait till JT plays the Seahawks, brother. Like if you've been counting on 30 points from JT every week, you ain't getting it against Seattle because nobody gets it against Seattle. Like you might get a usable game, but you better get other stuff, right? To beat in BBM, to beat 15 other teams in a week, 15 other really good teams. Like you better have a big game. So like you said, it's painful. It's painful when you get to week 15.
And I'm just saying it now just to try to remind all of the people in the Spike Week Discord, all the people that just play best ball in general. It's mentally taxing. It's a tough time of the year to have something mentally taxing hit you, but it is a mentally taxing thing. So just step back and know that it's coming. I'm not saying that you can completely overlook it or get past it, but try to focus on the positives as soon as that week 15 ends. I know I'm jumping ahead. We should be talking about this next week, but yeah. But anyways, for week 14, the sweating stuff, it's fun. I look for teams that I start to look at the teams that I'm like, who am I going to root for in the playoffs, and who am I going to root for to try to get through? So those that's what I start to do this week. Not as much this year as past years. Got a lot going on this week, as I think I think I've told you about that. Yep. But yeah, that's usually what I do, and I'll probably start doing that Friday. It's Thursday's insane, but yeah, Friday.
And I would probably recommend everyone don't look at anything before the Thursday game, because like if you have like a non-Dallas passing stack or something, if you have a Dallas passing, go look at your Dak, CD, Pickens teams or whatever, please. But if you have no one in the Thursday game on those teams, don't look at those until Friday, because it's gonna really suck watching that game without it. But all right, let's hit a couple of more. Oh, shout out Marier for joining us. I think we were talking about late round picks. It's like good picks, and this is definitely a good one. Like to the Royals thing, like when I go look at Kayshon Boutte. Right? Kayshon Boutte caught another touchdown last night. It's like these guys are not like, again, this is not Puka. This is not Ricky or Amon-Ra. This is not Kyren level smashes. But just the difference is so big when you get those. I'm going to do a lot more studying over the next few months, but I want to look into the later round stuff and like just start to formulate a plan. I don't think you can like have some like data backed, you can build a model that tells you what to do with your late round picks, but just to think about it logically and go through the last few seasons and stuff like that and just see like, because I think Troy Franklin is a good example of, it's easy to say, I drafted too much Jalen Royals and Dante Thornton and whatever, and like they're just stone cold zeros, and so I should draft Darius Slayton on every team, because that's not right either. I think there's this perfect intersection of the Troy Franklins, the Devon Velays or whatever, that it's like, no, they're going to be on the team, then they're probably going to play. Are they going to be Puka? No, they're not going to.
From this year,
right? QJ, right? Just like the distressed asset, the distressed asset, like a QJ or something like that. Like, I think there's a middle ground to find the sweet spot of. You still take your swings, right? Take your swings on Jalen Royals, and you can take some of the Darius Slaytons. But I think the sweet spot is the Troy Franklin, the QJ, the Devon Vele. I know I'm forgetting guys, so I apologize. But like that stuff where it's like you are getting like. We really like Troy Franklin as a prospect. We drafted Troy Franklin a lot higher the year before. Same thing with QJ. QJ was a first-round pick. We liked him a lot. The community liked QJ a lot more. Now we get this big discount. I think living in some of that range where you can kind of have your cake and eat it too on, there's upside here. There's real upside here. Is there superstar upside? Probably not. But there's also a higher floor of like, the team's not going to give up on this guy. He's probably going to be out there playing. He's going to get some form of points. And so you can have that balancing act of you don't gotta draft Darius Slayton on all of these teams and Adam Thielen types, but you also don't have to just swing on the rookie 5th round pick either.
Yeah, basically the last rounds are shifting sands, but it's still a desert every year, right? Like you're still in a desert every year. The sands might be shifting a bit, but
they didn't shift to the fucking Caribbean, right? Yeah. You're still in the Sahara, but
we're still looking for that oasis, and it's like, how do we find that path to the oasis? Going to Troy Franklin, it reminds me of the other point I wanted to bring up, and it's sort of like Troy Franklin made me think of it because it made me think of Cortland Sutton, and I think one thing I really want to do next year, and we've been guilty of it ourselves. It depends on the player, but when the entire best ball community, right, has a very fixed opinion on specific players, I want to evaluate those particular players. Like Cortland Sutton every year. Best ball community hates him for whatever reason. And it's just like he just smashed every year, right? Another guy like that this year, and I think that the community got bailed out because of the injury and stuff, but it's McLaurin. I mean, like this dude still balls.
And he just balled the hell out when he first came back. So
Right.
maybe they won't get bailed out. Maybe he'll be the Mike Evans or Mari Cooper or something like that.
But I want to evaluate those situations because it's like Cortland Sutton was harder this year because like the year before I loved Cortland Sutton because I thought he was just
he was a 10th round pick or whatever.
Yeah, it was like, what are we doing? Like
I still feel stupid every single time I think about that.
Yeah, it was just click, 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 click. Cortland Sutton that year, and he did get moved up this year. But when a player gets moved up, right? We doesn't matter if we like him or hate him. It's always the price got higher.
Right.
But when it's a player that we are looking for a reason, the royal we, not the draft, I think we need to evaluate, and not every player is Cortland Sutton, but like, should he have gone higher? Right? And I'm not saying he should or shouldn't have right now.
You're right.
But because of that, people don't want to put their toe in the stigma that's surrounding him already. It's like, is he at the right price because he wasn't getting overdrafted? You know what I mean? Like, so should I just, and it feels like Cortland Sutton, we still should have just been clicking the button. I'm not saying like at 100% rate, but
more than we did. It's the same thing I was just saying about Davante Adams.
Right.
Davante Adams is the wide receiver 2 on a Matthew Stafford. And I know there's the Stafford injury, whatever, but like we still took Puka at the 1-2 turn. So like, let's not, and Kyron in the 3rd. Let's not kid ourselves. Like we were like that fucking panicked about the Rams. In that situation, this is like we draft T Higgins higher than this. Remember we drafted Jalen Waddle in the 2nd round. We drafted 2 Bucks wide receivers in the first couple. We are not opposed to drafting, and there is no more condensed offense than the fucking St. Louis, than the Los Angeles Rams. That's what they do. Is you can tell I'm still gutted that they took this team away from me. I would the joy I would be getting from this Rams team if it wasn't ripped away from me. There is no, and like, but to your point, it was like, we will draft T Higgins in the 2nd, not this year or whatever. We will continue to draft T Higgins higher than we probably should because he's T Higgins and because he's sexy and the Bengals are sexy and they're young and they're fun and all that kind of stuff. But Davante Adams, like you said, I get the rent. It's great, right? They're only going to throw to 2 guys and blah blah blah. But it's Davante Adams. But it's the same thing with Cortland Sutton. I totally agree. I think that figuring those things out, as opposed to like if you just said my raw player take without talking about the market and all that kind of stuff on Cortland Sutton, I'd be like, I don't want to go too crazy, right? He's a good football player. He's not an elite football player. He's how high should we really take him? I don't know. It would be very skeptical. But when the entire market is skeptical, to your point, we can get these guys that are like good picks at the QJ thing, right? Like we were just talking about, these are distressed assets, and some of them shouldn't be. Cortland Sutton shouldn't have been a distressed asset. Davante Adams shouldn't have been a distressed asset. And finding those is just as finding when to wade into those waters is just as important as finding the like sexy breakout rookie shit or whatever. Because you get when Diggs went to the Bills, get like 8th round Stephon Diggs. Because then the narrative was, how good is Diggs really? And it's a wide receiver moving to a new team. All that shit's been debunked. But like you got a distressed asset. And it was like Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs at the 7-8 turn was an achievable stack in the first year of Stephon Diggs. And that feels foolish. But it's like finding those things where the market is like really locked into something. Like you said, like, we just don't really love Cortland Sutton. We just, Davante's getting old, right? Stephon Diggs is changing teams. It's like finding that thing and being like, I don't know. What if that's wrong? Like, what if that's wrong? You get this really distressed asset at a great price.
Yeah, it's just something I want to, like I did it with QJ this year for sure, and I didn't do it as much with Sutton as I probably should have. I think like guys like Kyron Williams, whichever side you're on that, you should at least be having that conversation with yourself over that running back. It's not just a wide receiver position thing. We do it with running backs as well. It's like, again, Kyrie Williams, he's going to get his touches. He's on the Rams. Like, people hate him, so his value is probably suppressed a little bit more than it should have been. Now, he was a third rounder this year, so how much that actually means. But you want Chase Brown or you want Kyrie Williams? Like you know what I mean? Like, just it's stuff like that. And the answer could be neither. The answer could be both. It's just I want to make sure that I want to check mark the players that I hear, whether it's in a Discord, whether it's on content. If it's a guy that universally sounds like people are out on, I want to know why. Because I'm going to be honest, I don't think anyone ever gave me a good reason on why they were out on Courtland Sutton. Right? There's other players that they have.
He's boring. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But more players.
There's this interesting thing that has happened in best ball that I think is both largely right and also sometimes exploitable, where if a guy basically can't be like the league winner, we discount them a lot. Right. Yeah. And I think that's somewhat good, but also it goes too far sometimes. That's the other distressed asset thing.
I think the other thing we do in best ball is, because these players' names are on our brain 12 months out of the year now, rather than 8 or 6 or 7 months.
Yeah, we don't just show up in August anymore and do this.
we're aging players more than they're actually aging. So, like, to your point, they're boring, or you get sick of hearing the name. Like, Jamar Chase is only in his 4th year right now.
Yeah, he's like 25 years old.
but like, you've heard Jamar Chase's name almost every day for the past 4 years. People are going to start being like, well, you know, there's younger guys. It's like, dude, he's 19. He's still on the
right.
You know?
Jason Tatum, still 21 years old.
Still 21 years old. So, like, I think that's the other thing that we have to be cognizant of, is like, when you're talking about players every day for years on end, they, like Courtland Sutton, he was already a valuable asset 5 years ago. And now people are just I think people try to age players out too quickly sometimes now. And I think that kind of goes to a point you were making earlier, but just be cognizant of the fact that, like, I don't know, we talk about these guys 12 months a year now. Understand that they're still relatively young. And just because we talked about it for 12 months, they only played 1 season.
We definitely age them. We definitely age. I think that's a good way to put it, that we age guys quicker than they're actually, even in football, right? We're aging them because we're very cognizant of how important age is in the game of football.
Right.
Because, like, we were just at Thanksgiving, right? And I was talking to my brother-in-law, and we're talking about football. You know, they constantly, and it's very difficult to have these conversations. Like,
so bad.
it's really, really brutal, because, like, they don't even understand what I do.
Right.
Like, absolutely no idea. I'm like, we do a fantasy football website. They're like, oh, like, you compete with like DraftKings. I'm like, no, you know, I'm like, you know, like, we give like fantasy football advice. We build like tools and stuff like that. What do you mean tools? I'm like, oh God, how do I explain the draft hacker to this person who doesn't even know what the fuck best ball is? Right. So anyway, but like, we're talking about football, and I was like, yeah, well, he's gotten old or whatever. And then without a fucking hesitation, every single time a family was, well, how old is he? I'm like, oh, well, he's 32. And they're like, well, you know, got to do, old. And it's like, but it is also like a check on me to be like, I'm like, yeah, you know, the team's gotten older. And they're like, yeah, like, this guy's 27 and this guy's 28 and this guy, and I'm like, it's not, that's old in football years, but they're not, this isn't Aaron Rodgers, right? They're not like ancient in football years. And so that's the constant, again, like, it's a lot of balancing. You're always balancing like 100 different things. Like, I think that's best ball, like, in a nutshell. Is like, what do you think about this player? I'm like, okay, how long do you have?
Yeah.
Because it's like, I could list you a bunch of pros, I could list you a bunch of cons, I could list you risks, and like, we could do a fucking SWOT analysis. What do you want to do? Like, every single player has like a bunch of perks and a bunch of cons, and we have to figure out, you know, how to navigate all that. And that's really what we're talking about here. Is the other important thing, I just want to put a bow on this part of it, is not just I listen to Ship Chasing, or I listen to Pete, or I listen to ETR, or I listen to Rotoviz or whatever, and they hated this guy, right? And so I'm going to bet against them, because, like Dial says, when the public is on, like, you know, all the public, right? People fade the public. That's true, but also sometimes the public is right? And like, sometimes the touts are right as well. So your point about why are they saying this? Why are they out on this guy? Right. And like, what could possibly be wrong about that? As opposed to just like never fucking blind fade. And if you blind fade something, you're dumber. You're dumber than, you know, the whatever this possible false logic that we're talking about here is. At least that was thoughtful. You didn't do anything thoughtful. You just said, well, those guys could be wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody could be wrong. It's like, but everybody could be right too. That doesn't mean to go against it. You're not what can you gain? Right. The why that you talked about is so important because that's where you can find out what you can gain. Right. Because like we all hated Jakobi Meyers. We were fucking now maybe he's caught some touchdowns for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but like we were right about that. We all hated Jerry Jeudy. We all hated DK Metcalf. We were right about all those different things.
Oh man,
but
for my replies, not everybody hated Jakobi Meyers. There's a big Jakobi Meyers fan base.
Okay, Jerry Jeudy. Can I say Jerry Jeudy? Like, good Lord, even when Jerry Jeudy gets open, he's gonna fumble at some points. You know, DK Metcalf is like target number 4. Darnell Washington is a higher priority target on the fucking Steelers than DK Metcalf is, and people took him in the 5th round. You know what I mean? It's like, but if you listen to like the cabal. Right. None of us like DK Metcalf. What are we doing here? Like, that's insane. That was right. But, you know, analyzing him versus Sutton versus and QJ versus Thielen versus whatever, like making sure that you're doing the really actual, like thoughtful part of it is really important.
Yeah. That's the whole point is it's not just a blind fade. It's, well, all these people hate DK Metcalf. What is the argument for it? What is the argument for Courtland Sutton? What is the argument for Kyren Williams? Like, and then it's like, I don't know. Like, if the argument feels flimsy from every outlet, it's like, maybe I'll just make sure that I'm taking a higher clip than that guy. Right. Like that's where I'm at with that.
Oh, poor Sam. So, hey, I will say if Sam was a Jakobi guy and you're feeling better about him now, on the Jaguars, he feels a lot less dead on the Jacksonville Jaguars than he did.
He got bailed out
on the Raiders. I would love to be bailed out on some of the fucking shitty picks that I made. If I could get bailed out on Will Shipley, that would be fucking phenomenal.
I had a lot of AD Mitchell, so I feel like I got bailed out.
That's a nice bailout. He's even he caught the ball this week. Like
that was great.
That was crazy, dude. Did you watch? First of all, if you did watch that game, I'm sorry. It was awful. But him and Mechie, right, are literally the 2 top wide receivers on the Jets. It's hilarious. They traded for both of them. Mechie last week was awesome. And AD Mitchell had hit the typical AD Mitchell game, like 8 targets and 2 catches and dropped like 3 passes. But Mechie was really good last week. This week, they literally went straight Freaky Friday. It was insane. And John Mechie couldn't catch my dogs can catch it. There's a foot of snow outside right now. I could toss the ball all the way across the yard. My dog could go catch it better than John Mechie. They're throwing like little quick outs and he was dropping those. And then AD Mitchell is making these circus catches down the field. They literally have done the total inverse each different week. Maybe Tyrod's the key to the season. If they can both actually put 1 week together, who needs Garrett Wilson? These 2 guys have shown flashes and also just like total disaster performances.
It was great. My core this week for DFS stuff was Bijan, Achane, Nico, AD Mitchell. And figure it out from there.
Speaking of bailed out, Sauce got hurt in the goddamn first quarter, and then Nico has a rushing touchdown.
A rushing touchdown, baby. I needed the passing touchdown because he had 98 yards. I think I could have got another additional 3. Dude, I was fighting for the early only. Like I was in first place.
Stupid. Here's a dumb fantasy football bro take. It's stupid when they hand it off. They should pop pass it for the sake of their the receiver and the quarterback like stats and stuff. Yeah. It's gonna 99% of the time it changes nothing about the play if you do a pop pass instead of handing it off behind you, or certainly handing it off in front of you. But like just Nico run in front, like it's not going to change any part about the play. Pop pass it. Stroud gets the passing touchdown. It's better for your players. It's better for like how your team looks. It's better for your like analytical metrics if you do it that way than if you run so it's very stupid when they hand it off.
It cost me, if they do that, because that team, the early only was a CJ Stroud team, it probably cost me 7.5 points. I'm not saying I would have won, but I probably finished 3rd or something like that.
That's a big swing. These are top heavy tournaments.
Yeah. So, but anyways, I had a good. Not only did I have a good DK week, I was fighting for my life with like an 8th and 12th place finish on the Drafters $55 tournament as well.
I need to get back in there. I haven't been playing the last.
Oh, it's so good, dude.
It's such a good tournament.
It's such a good tournament.
Charles says, "Thanks for another great season of content, fellas." Still laughing at Rob. I had forgotten about this. For anybody that doesn't know, Rob did a 48-hour straight stream.
36.
Literally. So 36. Sorry, yes, 36. You almost went for 48.
I was going to try.
We were all. We didn't tell you not to do it because you're an adult, but we were probably going to tell you if you decided to do it. But 36-hour stream, drafted best ball teams for 36 straight hours. It was hilarious, and there were good teams drafted and good takes and lots of fun and lots of laughs. But yes, his chair broke. His chair broke, and then you saw to do how many more hours after your chair broke?
Oh, I think it broke in the first 6 hours or something. And it was like, because I auto drafted like Joe Mixon or something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even remember who it was, but I think it was Joe Mixon.
That was me and you were drafting next to each other, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you auto drafted Mixon. I think it was. I think that's correct.
And I lost my mind because like nobody was more out on Joe Mixon than me this summer. Like, so to auto draft him was, it's my own fault on top of things. But like, and then I just went like this, and the whole chair snapped, and oh my god, and my back was killing me. It's a hell of a 36-hour stream.
Oh gosh, that's so good. Okay, I just want to hit as many of these comments as we can. Fighting solves everything. Interesting username. I'm not sure I agree, but rates in order: Terry McLaurin, Jaden Reed. This is an interesting grouping. Terry McLaurin, Jaden Reed, Chris Godwin, Christian Watson. He didn't give us rules or anything, but so I'll let you. Let's say who would you like to see on a team right now the most?
I mean, like if we're doing best ball,
yeah,
McLaurin is one, obviously. Just I think he immediately has the highest ceiling.
Easily.
Watson, though, is probably next just because we know who Christian Watson is. Then it's probably Reed, and I think I might just be out on Godwin for now.
I think I'm going to put Godwin over Reed, and I know that might feel blasphemous, but part of it is like the emergence of Christian Watson.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really know what Jaden Reed's role is going to be. Matthew Golden is maybe back this week. Dobbs is what Dobbs is. Wicks just had a big thing. Kraft is gone, so that helps. But like Reed is definitely going to be slot only. Like if he's gonna be like Josh Downs in his role. Now he has a lot more upside in that role than Josh Downs does, but they don't really want to throw that much. Green Bay doesn't, and so I'm like not upset about having Jaden Reed on teams, but I think I'm willing to just like take a total scratch off lottery ticket on Godwin. The Bucs have a really soft schedule also down the stretch that's pretty nice. So
it was jarring watching him drop a touchdown pass though. Like,
yes,
because that's who doesn't do that.
Because he was playing better too. He's looked really bad over the season, and I thought he looked a lot better.
Yeah, on
Sunday, which was nice, and maybe that's playing into my take here, but. Yeah, Mike Evans also, they're hoping to get him back. Jalen McMillan is returning to practice this week. Good things for the Bucs all around because Ibuka needs some help. Ibuka's great, but I think we've seen like the thesis of like he's a very good like two, like he would be like the best 3 in the league and a good 2, but you can't. He just can't be the focal point of like a really good passing offense. He's just not good enough, at least not yet.
Yeah, he's T. Higgins, man. Like you got to put someone on the other side of him, which is fine. I think Ibuka has
like a
much
better Addison, like a much better Addison or something like that, right? When JJ's over there, it's like Addison looks awesome. Yeah, but like you can't build the plane out of Jordan Addison,
When JJ as in Justin Jefferson, not the
not 9,
not Jonathan James as Rebar would say.
Oh my God, I'm so sick of the Vikings. Dude. The Vikings fans, I wish I had that level of like just like pure positivity about everything that I root for in my life would be so. I think it would also at times be a mental health drag when it doesn't go well, like what's happening to the Vikings right now. But just the like, JJ McCarthy's just incoherent quarterback play for weeks and still holding on to this hope like he's the future was just like wild to see. Like I've never seen a more Jamarcus Russell was more accurate than JJ McCarthy was when they played football, and people were still holding out hope for JJ McCarthy. And then McCarthy gets this fake concussion, right? And sits out. And then Max Brosmer comes in, and it's like, well, Brosmer's going to be the new Brock Purdy. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like JJ, like every guy that plays quarterback for the Vikings is going to get this like insane hype train. Like there were literally Max Brosmer, Brock Purdy. That's like we talked about the late, to bring it back to best ball. Like we talked about the late round picks. Like there's not always a Puka Nacua. Like a shitty late round quarterback isn't always Brock Purdy. And turns out Max Brosmer is not only not Brock Purdy, he's not fucking, I don't know what, he's not an NFL player. He's not a CFL player. Yeah, like it is rough what they've done to this Vikings team. It's rough.
Bad audition for him. He is probably not going to stay in the league is what I will say.
You just got to show a little bit of life and people will give you chances, especially probably if you played for KOC, I imagine. You know, it's like playing for Stafford or playing for a McVay or something. People will give you chances, but you can't be that bad. You can't be. The pick six was really funny. Just threw it right to the linebacker for a 90-yard pick six. This is an interesting one. Kid Kick says Isaac Teslaw gonna win week 15. He is a good guy to have. Amon-Ra's hurt. Khalif Raymond. They basically say Khalif Raymond's not back on Thursday. That doesn't mean he won't be back for week 15, but Teslaw played like 90% of the snaps, I believe, in week 13 without Khalif Raymond. He could be another one of those guys. Again, not going to be, this is not Puka Nacua. This is not Ricky or Amon-Ra, but like does Zippo all season, right? And then just at the right time because injuries and the team has shaken out a certain way. You have Teslaw, right? 17th, 18th round Teslaw. Great. Feels awesome. Didn't feel good for 12 weeks, but it feels good all of a sudden.
You keep reminding me that I'm not going to be able to watch this Cowboys-Lions game on Thursday night, which is making me sad.
I don't know what to tell you. You signed up for this. I wish I could like be supportive of you, but I mean, I am supportive of you, but
at least I'm doing something cool.
Yeah, it could be worse. It could be much worse.
Yeah.
Let's see. We should talk about this a little bit before we get out of here in a little bit.
Pie
brings up Trey Benson. He specifically he mentions that he gets aroused every time he finds a Trey Benson team that is alive. I'm very torn on Trey Benson. I'm still keeping a light on, but the really, really, really slow return to play. The Cardinals are also officially eliminated from playoff contention. Not that mattered. We knew that weeks ago, but it's official now. Obviously he has the week 17 matchup with Cincinnati, which is great. It's still, there was a little bit of a scuttlebutt about has the Bengals matchup, is it not as great for a no.
Please. I'll take it.
The Patriots are just incompetent as a running offense and just an offense really kind of collectively, specifically running. And the Ravens, Lamar couldn't, speaking of like JJ McCarthy's inaccuracy, good God, Lamar. Just missing wide open throws everywhere. I still want to see my players against the Bengals in the fantasy playoffs. However, the problem with Trey Benson is I'm still like, it's better than seeing other guys on like other late round running backs on teams for the most part. But is there enough runway for him to get healthy enough to take back a large portion of the backfield, right? To where like, he's probably going to be playing in week 17 against the Bengals, but is he going to get 18 touches against the Bengals in week 17? That every week that feels less and less likely. And that's the concern I have, even though I'm like I said, tentatively excited. I'm not getting out over my skis like maybe 3 weeks ago or something. I was like, oh baby, I can't wait for Benson to be back. Jacoby's taking over and we're going to be ready to rock and roll. I'm a little less excited.
Yeah, I should be rich. Is all I'm going to say. Should be rich, but we're not.
Connor goes down. Benson looked good before he got hurt. It's a shame.
It is a shame. Do we want to get into a couple teams before we get out of here?
Let's do it. Let me share. I have my. I drafted 11 of the 5-5-5 teams on DraftKings, and 2 are advancing. 1 is absolutely fucking terrible, so we don't need to get into that one. But the other one that I'm pretty excited about is a team that myself and you and Bernie drafted together. We recorded the first several rounds and posted them on this very YouTube channel. You can go back and watch them if you would like, but it's this team over here on the left-hand side. I'll zoom in a little bit so we can see it a little bit better.
The fastest slow 5-5-5 draft ever, as I recall.
We tried to record every pick, but it was literally the fastest. It finished in like a week. It was absolutely insane. But what I will say is it's a different team, both in structure of how we draft without a wide receiver in the first 3 rounds, but also if you see, it only has 1 quarterback, and that is Josh Allen. We started with Jahmyr Gibbs. We got the 105. This is pick number right here. We got the 105, and we took Jahmyr Gibbs, and then we came back and took Trey McBride. I know I'm kind of bouncing around, but we took Trey McBride at pick 20, and then we took Josh Allen in the 3rd round. If I remember correctly, there was a receiver we would have taken. We were deciding between a couple picks, and the receivers all came off the board. So we went with Josh Allen, and then obviously we hammered receiver for a little while, and that has worked out fairly well. T-Mac, Rashee Rice, Chris Olave, Josh Downs. Don't ask me about Keon. But Burden is like Burden. Yeah, it's true. Burden, Josh Palmer, of course, both Bills sacked with Josh Allen, Alec Iomanner, Torrey Horton, Jordan Whittington. We didn't close out the wide receiver room perfectly, but still, I think like enough live bodies at wide receiver for this particular tournament that I'm feeling still pretty excited. And then to go with Jahmyr Gibbs at running back, we have Charbonnet, Bill, the aforementioned Trey Benson, Tyler Algier, and Kyle Monangai, RIP Kendre Miller, who would have been doing much better. Kamara hurt himself, similar to the Connor thing. And then we do have Dalton Kincaid to go with Trey McBride. So not a lot of injuries, not a lot of like dead bodies. You know, there's some guys who aren't super exciting, but the advance rates are much easier in the 5-5-5. And it really worked out the solo Josh Allen, giving us enough shots on goal to find Monangai, to find, you know, some of these, even like Iomanner. He's not like putting up fantasy points, but I'm happy to have him on the team to where I'm pretty excited for this team. I'm not going to, you know, proclaim it to be a winner or anything like that, but I'm generally optimistic.
Yeah. And if you look like, even if we added another quarterback, like you look at your team next to this, look at your Josh Allen, Cam Ward team, right? You use 36 points of Cam Ward, but it only added 26 points total.
Yep.
For the whole year. Like, it's like 26 points is somewhat valuable, I guess, but like overall, it just feels like you might have gotten more value by having the solo Josh Allen than getting a guy like, I mean, Cam Ward sucked, but like, you know what I'm trying to say here is like we might have getting an extra one of those running backs on a team or one of those wide receivers or something, especially if we didn't take Downs and our thought process was to take AD Mitchell or something later in this draft. Like, but I love the team overall. The Rashee Rice thing was so pivotal on this team versus whatever else we could have done in that spot. Taking that shot on Rice when we did and just insulating him till he came back. Like, I think we just thought really, I think it was just such a smart mind meld for this team as we thought through. Like, not every pick hits, but just the overall thought process of it was really fun.
And it's funny because how important actually Keon ended up being for this team just through sheerly that week 1 game, right? Obviously, we have no Rashee for quite a while. We need every possible like big game that we can get for those weeks until Rashee came back, and then we basically used his score every single week. And Olave's been good, and T-Mac has been good. It's just kind of all come together. Again, it's not perfect. We're gonna need some of these clowns down here to like do something during the fantasy playoffs. And do I know who it'll be? Will they? I don't know. You know, maybe not. But it's a little bit of like the anatomy of a team that that does well. It's like enough live bodies. You can't say whether Keon comes back and is helpful, or Burden comes on down the stretch, or Io Manor catches the touchdown right in week 15, or what. You can't say, like, who knows? Like, Corain didn't know that Tyquan Thornton on the Patriots was going to like save his bacon and help him win $2 million. But like, and I don't know who would be on this team. And again, maybe it'll be nobody, but this is like the kind of stuff that you're looking for. Like, running back room looks good. Obviously Gibbs. And then like, we got like 5 candidates to fill RB2/flex. We got 2 good tight ends. We got Josh Allen. And then it's like, please God, like 1 or 2 of you guys amongst this kind of group do something. And especially in a smaller field, sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah. I mean, we fortified ourselves at 3 positions early: Allen, Gibbs, McBride, and we still hit really well on our early wide receivers between Tet, Rice, Olave. Like, it's just such a fun team. Such a fun team. I'm excited to see if we can get it through.
I just want to share this one team that was, of course, famous in our little bubble that you see over. You see this person who I'm highlighting over here. This is the team that I streamed this summer and got roasted, as I should have gotten roasted, because I was debating who to pick at this pick 219. And I accidentally auto-picked Darren Waller because I didn't have rankings in or anything like that. And honestly, kind of happy Waller's on the team. There are worse guys to have than Darren Waller. It was nice to be very wrong and auto-pick a very wrong pick. The tight end room is nice, and obviously those guys can be flex plays. But let me tell you, it's down 37, so it's alive. But this motherfucker right here is killing me, absolutely killing me over the course of the last couple of weeks. If Lamar Jackson, like, if he does anything, it's advancing, and then it has Zay as well. So it's like the Lamar Zay stack. If it does anything over the course of these last couple of weeks, and Olave's on like all my teams. You see T-Mac, Manungai, right? And this is Gibbs as well. So it was a very similar start to what we did with Allen, Gibbs, McBride, but I did Lamar, Gibbs, McBride, since of course we had done the Allen version, and like built out a fairly similar team that's like not quite as strong, but I still look at it like, this looks good. I would like to get this through, right? Juwan on here, Burden also on here. It's very, very similar. Shaheed has been trash with the Seahawks, but it's fine. Like, he's like Josh Downs. Like, could he pop up for a good game? Sure, it's possible. But fucking Lamar, dude, absolutely brutal. Just absolutely brutal. It literally basically all come down to the fact that he's done nothing since he's come back.
Yeah, I would like for Lamar to step up, because I have some Lamar teams that are live. It would be great if he could play football again. But yeah, I have a couple of my DraftKings teams if we want to share them, because I was just looking at one of them, and this does not look like a team that I would have drafted. I actually had to make sure that it was me that drafted it, but my highest scoring DK Millie team is a Bo Nix Justin Herbert team with also Tyler Shuck, which tells me that I did this. I could tell you that I was trying to do an inverted build of what I usually do here, which makes me kind of sad that it's my highest scoring team in a way.
Holy hell. This
Saquon, Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown, Bashal Tootin, Jarquez Hunter. Roshan Johnson's weird because I was like way off of Roshan Johnson this year. Devontae Adams, Tet, Olave, Diggs, Reed, Trey Harrison, Quentin Johnston to go.
Pat Bryant also nice.
Pat Bryant, then Goddard, Brenton Strange, and Hunter Henry at tight end. Like, it's kind of a fun team.
It's a very fun team.
So it scored 1,919 points. The team I had sort of been tracking, because that must have just overtaken this one, my highest scoring team was a Lamar team up until this past week.
Wow.
It was Lamar, Herbert, Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, Jordan Mason, Tank, Braylon Allen, RIP, Rico, Rashard Smith, but Jamar Chase, Pickens,
Braylon,
Zay Flowers, Reed, Quentin Johnston, Luther Burden, Noel Tesla, as we've been talking about.
Ooh.
Mark Andrews.
Gesicki's back.
Terrence
Higbee's
Ferguson.
out. I know it's been the Parkinson show, but Ferguson could catch a touchdown.
Yeah. So this team's pretty fun. Obviously, it's going to get through. It's 83 points ahead. And then we have a lot of Justin Herbert on these teams, a lot of Drake May,
That's so
as you
funny.
can see. I remember this team.
Herbert's on all of your top 4 teams. Wow.
Yeah. I was
Drake May
heavy
on
Herbert this year. I just really thought he was underappreciated. This team.
You were right. You were right.
This team at the end here. So your Darren Waller was my Russell Wilson on this team.
Hey, he probably added points in the one game, right? Yeah, the Cowboys game.
8 points, baby.
8 points.
Got to get that third QB to have those 8 points.
Now he's not even. Now even if Dart gets hurt, he's not going to play because Jameis is the backup. That's so funny.
Yeah, this team's not that fun, so we won't go over it. Check out our last team that's actually advancing. It's Mahomes. I haven't looked at it. Mahomes, Drake May.
Ooh, this is fun.
Gibbs, Amarian, Zach
Holy
Charbonnet,
shit.
Spears.
That running back room is sick.
Benson, Devin Neal, Woody Marks, Brashard Smith. So what you could see is I took Gibbs and then I just was like, and Hampton was like, let's just kind of punt.
I love it.
And we got Drake London, Rashee Rice, DJ Moore, Diggs, Reed, Dobbs, Palmer.
That team rocks.
Pat Bryant, Mark Andrews, Hunter Henry. It's up by 30 points. I mean, we don't get New England guys this week. I think that's okay.
Yeah,
we should probably
tough spot for the Chiefs, but you should be all right.
Yeah, we should get through. But if we want to see all teams, we got a team that's 26 points out here. It's an Allen Tua team with Bijan and Achane.
Ooh.
Charbonnet, Benson, Braylon, Dylan Sampson, Tet, Waddle, Juwan Jennings, Debo, Reed, Ibuka, Palmer, Darius Slayton, Elijah Moore. That's LOL funny. Isaiah Likely, Jake Ferguson, and Terrence Ferguson. We got the Ferguson connection there. So
that is great. It is always funny to see the occasional random name that shows up, and you're like, why the fuck did I take that guy? And then he's like out of the league. I won't share it, but I will just say my highest scoring team is a Mahomes team, and I have not like a ton of Mahomes, but it helps when you draft CMC and JT and Trey McBride. JT, and Trey McBride. Although I'm very, very sad, it's Worthy, not Rashee. If it was Rashee, this team would be a fucking banger. And it does have your boy Cortland Sutton also on it because Bo Nix is QB too. So
I'll just share my highest scoring BBM team as well. It's a Josh Allen, Cam Ward team, much like your 555 team.
Dude, Cam Ward shows up. Cam Ward and Kyler Murray kept showing up on teams, and I'm like, this team looks. Oh, damn it! You're like, well, Drake May, buddy, you better have 3 good weeks in a row.
This is a Kyron, J.K. Dobbins team, unfortunately. Ray Davis, Javonte Williams, Woody Marks, Kyle Monangai. So we lose J.K. Dobbins, but
that's fine.
We get enough. It's a Jamar Chase, Rashee Rice, Devonta Smith, Juwan Jennings, Jaden Reed, QJ,
yeah.
Horton, Io Manor, Tyler Warren, and Dalton Kincaid. So that's my highest scoring team at 1641. And there's some fun teams in here that are going to get through that I'm excited for, but that's the highest scoring one. I figured we'd want to look at that one.
Colin dunking on me as he should said, I won't share the team as I share the team. I meant I won't share my screen. I won't share my screen, but I chose my words poorly as does tend to happen. So we're gonna reconvene next week. Obviously, week 14 will be either in the books or about in the books. Let's do some form, like we leave a DFS show and you have like a flag plant or a something. Let's like collect and think next week about what opinions might change. Who's a guy? If you had to pick one guy, your reasoning can be whatever, right? It could be fucking Jonathan Taylor if you want. It could be Saquon Barkley. I don't care. Who, when you look through teams and you're sweating them for week 14, who's the guy you're like, God, I really want to get that guy through as many teams as I can get through with that guy on him.
Ah, man. So here's Cope. Here's wish casting. and everyone's gonna, stick their nose up at me for this one, and rightfully so. But if you can get some Brian Thomas Jr. teams through, and he just has 1 or 2 big weeks.
That's not the name I thought you were gonna say.
Right? Like if you can get that dude through, and because now everyone's out on him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's just, and he's one of the reasons I didn't win $10,000 this past Sunday. So like I should be out on him too. But
should have played Jacoby Myers.
Should have played Jacoby Myers as I vomit. But I think he's going to be completely underrepresented. He is a guy that, regardless of what's happened this season, it's been bad overall. I haven't seen what the Parker Washington injury is yet, to be honest.
Me either.
But there's that. And there's just a chance that dude puts up 2 huge games in the playoffs. He might not put up any, but he's going to be low owned and could just be like one of those dudes that you're just like, we looked at all season with like, can you please do something? And then he does it when it matters. And I think Chris looked it up. He's like 4% advancing right now.
It's so like microscopic. Yep.
Yeah. So I might take a look and see if I have any advancing Brian Thomas Jr. teams. So
Chris is, I don't know if I have any. I haven't looked. I'll look it up after this. And yeah, we can talk about BTJ and some of these low owned guys next week. I will say this is not Cope because he's crushing and he's not like low owned, but I did go look at my opponent advance rates. I've been looking at a lot of drafting stuff. There's BBMDB and all that kind of stuff. And of course in Draft IQ, you can look at all your opponents and all that kind of stuff on Spike Week. But my opponent advance rates for Trey McBride were not that great. And Trey McBride is the tight end 1 in fantasy. He plays those aforementioned Bengals in week 17. Reeves talks about this all the time, that like, if you're worried about guys getting shut down, like sure, technically it's possible, but it just doesn't happen. Like Trey McBride's going to like try to set records, this year. So he's probably going to keep playing. And if the Bengals are worse at anything than defending the run, it's tight ends. If you play tight end against the Cincinnati Bengals, you're going to score a touchdown. It's just like, do you score 30 fantasy points or like 18? And if anybody can feast in that specific matchup with what appears to be Jacoby Brissett for the rest of the season, the way they're talking about Kyler, it's Trey McBride. If I can get Trey McBride to the final, Light of Truth mentions, and I'm not trying to give multiple guys, but mentions Brock Bowers. It is also a good spot for Brock Bowers against the New York Giants. If I can get one of the elite, right, George Kittle, if I can get the elite tight end to the finals, like we'll roll the dice, we'll deal with the rest of it. And Trey McBride is my favorite because that Bengals matchup is still super juicy and he rocks. Trey McBride's awesome.
Yeah, that's a good one. And let's hope you're right, because I definitely have Trey McBride teams advancing.
I got most of my teams are Trey McBride advancing because he's carrying a lot of bad teams into the playoffs. We're going to get out of here. Enjoy week 14. Hop on into the Discord. You can come sweat with us. It is just $5 a month to get access to all the premium channels. You can get a few of the free channels if you join for free. There is a link in the description, and Rob and I will be back next, I think Monday. We'll talk.
I think Monday should actually work. It's not as crazy as this week. Maybe unrelated, maybe related. Make sure you're following the Hometown Ghost Stories Instagram, and I would maybe be following Chris Jericho's Instagram this week. Maybe. If I were you guys. I don't know. Maybe. Just do that.
I second that. And I won't give anything else away, but I second that. And we will see you guys next Monday, and we'll be ready to do Advance Rate Tuesday and talk about all of our terrible advance rates, our good advance rates, the things we're excited for. We're going to get into all that next week, but enjoy week 14, and we will see you guys in about 6 days. Cheers.
Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.